Today on Round the Clock Frights, I've got a really special treat for you boys and ghouls. Today, we're going to be reviewing my newest movie, Willy's Wonderland, directed by Kevin Lewis and starring me.
If you weren't aware, I really love doing impressions on this show. It's just kind of a passion of mine. I do a lot of really silly impressions, and it's kind of an obsession. Maybe one of these days I'll actually make a YouTube channel that highlights all of my ridiculous impressions. Anyway, guys, welcome to yet another episode of Round the Clock Frights, and today, as mentioned in the beginning of the video, I have a real treat for you guys.
Jesus Christ, great.
So, tell me if this premise doesn't get you absolutely pumped up. Like, this is an amazing premise. You have beloved icon Nicolas Cage, star of such hit films as The Family Man and 2006's The Wicker Man, going up against essentially the animatronics from Five Nights at Freddy's. That's right, those bloodthirsty, homicidal animatronics that seem to have terrified many online gamers. But that is the central premise of Willy's Wonderland. Now, obviously this wasn't meant to be a direct adaptation of Five Nights at Freddy's because the filmmakers obviously couldn't, obtain the rights, and I think they've actually had a Five Nights at Freddy's film adaptation in the works for a while. I'm not really sure if that's ever going to come to fruition, but this is what we got, and this movie really quenched my thirst because this was a totally bizarre, just entertaining as hell action horror flick that doesn't take itself seriously in the slightest. And you get to see Nicolas Cage just deliver a performance that can only be described as macho but hilarious. Yes, macho but hilarious. That's how I would describe Nicolas Cage in this movie. They really let Nicolas out of the cage in this one. So what is the premise of Willy's Wonderland? Well, Nicolas Cage plays, I'm assuming, a drifter who is traveling across America, and his sports car abruptly breaks down and he gets it towed to the nearby shop, and the mechanic tells him that there is a position open at Willy's Wonderland, and if he's able to work one evening at Willy's Wonderland, fixing up the place and essentially serving as a janitor, then the mechanic will fix up his beloved sports car and he'll be good to hit the road. And without a word of dialogue, which, by the way, Nicolas Cage doesn't speak a word of dialogue in this entire movie. Now, listen, I have been reading some negative reviews for this movie, and some critics have complained that Nicolas Cage essentially sleepwalks his way throughout the entire movie, but I don't know. I thought he was still entertaining as hell to watch, and he carries himself in such a serious manner. And in a movie like this, that is absolutely hysterical because the premise is just downright absurd. So when your lead hero is like this masculine, tough guy who never speaks, never utters a single word, he might occasionally groan or grunt, it's like taking a Clint Eastwood character and putting him into, well, Five Nights at Freddy's. It's just a hilarious idea right from the start. And there's one running joke throughout the film that had me just rolling on the floor laughing every single time, but I don't want to jump too far ahead. So anyway, Nicolas Cage's character agrees to take up a position at Willy's Wonderland, and we do discover that Willy's Wonderland is essentially out of business because apparently there were some incidents in the past. Apparently these animatronics were actually killing some of the children who visited this place, and there's a couple of flashbacks where we see, these demonic animatronics just in action, and the animatronics actually do have some pretty cool designs. Like, the main animatronic is this weasel. It has a very long neck, and its face is just so contorted and messed up. How would anyone look at this weasel animatronic and think that this would be suitable for children, or that it would be appealing for children? In fact, all these animatronics are just terrifying to look at. There's even oh my god, there's an alligator animatronic. There's also this fairy animatronic, which, by the way, This movie obviously didn't have the highest budget, and it's obvious that a couple of these animatronics were essentially just actors inside these bodysuits with fake heads. But I really do like the fact that when they are beaten to death by Nicolas Cage, they still spurt out what I assumed at first was blood, but it's actually oil. God, this movie is so amazing. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie.
I couldn't think of a more horrible job if I wanted to. And you have to do it. You have to, or I'll fire you. Do you understand?
Now, the running joke that I was mentioning earlier, so when Nicolas Cage first takes the position at this place, he is told to, take breaks every hour or so, because, breaks are very important, especially in this job. So there will be times, like during an action sequence, where Nicolas Cage will just stop what he's doing, and he will go play an arcade machine, or he will drink a soda. And this goes on throughout the entire movie. And every single time he did this, like I was just howling with laughter, because it's such a hilarious idea. The fact that this is a very serious working man, and he just needs to take his breaks because that's part of the job description. You need to take breaks, or else you're going to be reprimanded. And he fixes up this dusty arcade machine, which is an arcade machine based off of the Willy's Wonderland place, and there are these like really intense bits where Nicolas Cage will be at work just playing this arcade machine or playing this pinball machine, and we get all these really intense moments with Nicolas Cage where he is just really enjoying the hell out of this pinball machine. He's just really trying to get that high score, and I'm getting really excited here. So what are the positives of this movie? So something that I do want to mention is that some movies were made to be intentionally cheesy and awful. A really good example is the Sharknado franchise. Those filmmakers knew that they were making garbage. Every single Sharknado movie is just downright absurd and ridiculous, and you don't watch these types of movies expecting grade A cinema. The thing with Sharknado is that, or movies like Sharknado, is that I'm not really a big fan of movies that are intentionally awful. The best kind of bad movies are the ones that were made seriously. The filmmakers thought that they were making something brilliant, and they accidentally made something terrible. A great example would be Troll 2. Another phenomenal example would be Tommy Wiseau's The Room, which just happens to be my favorite bad movie of all time. And the reason Sharknado didn't work was, for one, all the characters were really annoying, first of all, and it just wasn't very humorous. It tried way too hard to be an appealing B movie, and I just never was the biggest fan of Sharknado. This movie, on the other hand, has Nicolas Cage in a starring role, and that works absolutely to its favor. Because Nicolas Cage, you don't even have to... These days, you don't even have to put Nicolas Cage in a good movie. You can just have Nicolas Cage playing essentially himself, because he is just such a unique presence. And this movie does deliver on what it promises. We want to see Nicolas Cage beating the circuits out of these homicidal animatronics, and that's essentially what we get. Although I do have to say this. It's very obvious during some of the action sequences that they sped up the footage, or they adjusted the frame rate, because I'm assuming when Nicolas Cage was filming, he was swinging, his weapons very slowly, and he probably didn't look very cool, when he was doing the fight choreography, and so they sped up the footage to make it seem more intense, more gritty, and more visceral, which, I'm not complaining, because it's so amusing to see Nicolas Cage go to town on these psychotic animatronics.
Sometimes I let matches burn down to my fingertips just to feel something, anything. Oh.
Now, while this movie was very, very enjoyable to watch, I do have some cons. First things first, the younger characters in this movie. The young heroes who know about the murderous animatronics, they are beyond irritating, and they take up a little bit too much screen time. The movie focuses on them just a little bit much because they're all stereotypes. They're all very irritating. And I just have to say this, none of them are particularly good performers, and there's one utterly just bizarre sequence where two of the characters wander off into the next room to have sex. And even I was watching that sequence, I was like, this just goes beyond fan service. I've seen slasher movies where characters act more logical than this. They know that this building is full of these bloodthirsty robots, and yet they decide to go into the next room and fuck. And oh my god, what kills me is that while they're making love, there's an animatronic in the room with them, and they notice the animatronic, and they think nothing of it. I believe the female at one point, she actually says, oh, let's give the animatronic a good show. You know, let's continue fucking while this creepy animatronic watches us. And it's very obvious that these younger characters were just meant to be, you know, prey. They were meant to be targets for these animatronics, because obviously they're not going to kill Nicolas Cage, because Nicolas Cage is the reason that many of us wanted to watch this movie in the first place.
What's in the bag? A shark or something?
But yes, that is probably my biggest complaint with this movie, just the fact that it spent a little bit too much time with these annoying side characters who we don't give a shit about. We want to see Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage. And here's another thing. I thought it would have been really funny if they had subverted our expectations halfway through this movie. I thought it would have been funny if the young characters had entered Willy's Wonderland and immediately just got axed off, you know, all at once, because that would have been kind of funny. You know, the fact that they, you know, spent this entire time, you know, getting ready to destroy this building, set it on fire. You know, their goal is to, you know, end the curse that has plagued their town for decades now, and they just get killed off immediately. But it takes the typical slasher route and they get axed off one by one, which, fine. Look, B-movie fans will know exactly what to expect from Willy's Wonderland. I'm assuming a good number of you have seen a number of horrifically cheesy horror movies over the years, so you'll probably have a good time with this. It's like seeing a commercial for a really cartoonish fast food sandwich, like the Baconator at Wendy's. Obviously, it's not good for you, and you probably shouldn't be consuming it in the first place, but by God, it just looks so damn cheesy and meaty. God, I'm getting really hungry now. I should probably go pick up a sandwich from Wendy's after I film this review. I could spend the rest of the video talking about how much I love Wendy's Baconator sandwich, but I'm not going to do that because we're here to talk about Willy's Wonderland, the film of the year. Look, guys, this movie does deliver. When it focuses on Nicolas Cage and his wacky antics, it is immensely enjoyable. Like I said, go in with the right mindset, you'll probably enjoy it.
Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah!
But yes, guys, I would love to hear your thoughts on Willy's Wonderland as well. Did you have a good time watching this movie? Please leave your comments down below. And, you know, 2021, I'm feeling, like, pretty optimistic overall. I do think the year is going to get progressively better. And, you know, we do have some more horror movies to look forward to this year. We got A Quiet Place Part 2 with Jim from The Office, also directed by him. We have Antlers, produced by Guillermo del Toro, and you know, hopefully these movies don't get delayed again because, god damn it, I need new horror movies to watch. I need them. We've gotten some good ones recently. Last year alone, we had The Invisible Man. We also had Color Out of Space, also starring Nicolas Cage. Check out Color Out of Space. But yes, guys, what were your thoughts on Willy's Wonderland? I really hope that you guys enjoyed my review. If you liked it, go ahead and subscribe to our channel, Round the Clock Frights, for more horrific content. And as always, stay scary. And
Whatever you do, come to Willy's Wonderland because you'll get to see me, you know, kicking the shit out of robots. Nicolas Cage, Oscar winner, actor, performer guy, Nicolas Cage.
have a good evening, guys. Take care.